We were halfway through Utah when the first red flag blinked to life, and I mean that literally. Her phone lit up with a soft glow in the passenger seat cup holder, screen flashing with a preview I wasn't supposed to see. A name I didn't recognize. A message I couldn't unsee. But let me back up. That morning, the world felt like it had been pressed into a snow globe, crisp mountain air, sunrise kissing the Rockies, and the subtle ache in my knees from 3 days of pretending I enjoyed hiking. We were driving back from a couple's retreat. You know the type. Overpriced cabins, awkward trust falls, and mandatory campfire circles where people cried about high school trauma and sipped peppermint tea like it cured betrayal. Ashley, my wife, was in rare form all weekend. Laughing louder than usual. Dressing better than usual. Smiling like she'd just been given a secret to hold. She'd even suggested the trip, said we needed a reset. Said she wanted to reconnect. Well, here's the thing about resets. They don't work when only one person wants to reboot. We were 10 hours deep into the drive home, winding through the kind of empty desert that makes you feel like you're the only two people left on Earth. Ashley had fallen asleep somewhere around Provo, mouth slightly open, earbuds in, playlist still droning on about healing vibrations. Her hair was tucked behind one ear, and for a moment, just a moment, I looked at her and thought, we'll be okay. And then her phone vibrated. It wasn't the first time. In fact, it had been buzzing on and off for the last hour like a tiny, obnoxious Morse code of deceit. But this time, it flipped over on its own, maybe from the rumble of the road, maybe fate itself had just grown impatient, and the screen came to life like it had something to confess. 3 texts. Same name. Hunter. Now, I don't know about you, but when a grown man named Hunter sends your wife a series of heart-eyed emojis at 6:47 a.m. on a Sunday, it doesn't exactly scream platonic book club. I glanced over at Ashley, still snoring softly, blissfully unaware that her little secret had just entered the chat. I didn't touch the phone. Not yet. I just stared at it as it went dark again, like it was daring me to unlock something I couldn't unknow. The next 100 miles were quiet. Ashley dreamed. I drove. And Hunter? He kept texting. There's a strange thing that happens when your gut speaks before your brain. It whispers, you already know. Before I even ask. Ashley mumbled in her sleep, shifting slightly as if her dreams were trying to dodge the incoming wreck. Her hair fell across her cheek. Peaceful. Serene. Like someone who didn't have a damn clue her life was about to get very, very complicated. We were just crossing into Nevada when I cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. No sudden screech of tires or soap opera monologue. Just a quiet sigh into reach. I picked up the phone. Face ID didn't work. Her head was tilted too far. So I tapped the screen and swiped down for the previews. No lock. No password. Trust, apparently, was something she'd saved for men named Hunter. There they were. Message after message, some of them only half sentences, fragments like pieces of a dirty puzzle. I can still taste you. Last night was worth every risk. He suspects nothing. No context. No denial. Just bullets fired straight into the back of my sanity. My grip on the steering wheel tightened, but I didn't flinch. Not yet. You don't panic when the fire starts. You contain it. You study it. You decide what to burn down next. There were photos too, one of them at some bar. Her arm looped through his, face lit up like she was living someone else's life. Someone free. Someone reckless. Someone single. She had told me she was staying late at the retreat for a final reflection session. Said she needed closure. Well, the only thing closed now is my heart. Slamming shut with the grace of a bank vault. And still, she slept. I kept driving. Miles melting under the wheels. My hands on the wheel. Her phone in the console. Her betrayal riding shotgun. She didn't wake up until we hit the city line. But not our city. Oh no. I had other plans. I turned off the interstate at an unfamiliar exit. Drove 20 minutes through side streets and back alleys. And when she finally stirred and sat up, blinking against the afternoon sun, she looked around, confused. Where are we? She asked, rubbing her eyes. I smiled, the kind of smile that says the movie's about to get real interesting. New city, I said. Thought we'd start fresh. She looked down, eyes darting toward her phone. And that's when she realized it was gone. She sat up straighter, brushing sleep from her eyes and blinking at the unfamiliar skyline. It wasn't ours. No Target on the corner. No dog park she never used but loved to brag about living near. Just unfamiliar buildings, faded brick, and a parking lot full of things that didn't belong to us. Ashley looked at me, eyes darting like someone who just realized the magician switched hats mid-show. Logan, where are we? She asked again, slower this time. I gave her a glance. Calm. Too calm. Like a man who had already made peace with the next 10 minutes. Thought we could use a change of scenery, I said. You know, cleanse the palate. She looked down instinctively, and when her hand reached for the console, empty, her stomach dropped. My phone? Where's my phone? In safe hands, I said. Well, my hands. But that depends on how you define safe. Her face stiffened. I saw the gears grinding behind her eyes, calculations running. What did I see? What did I know? Could she lie her way out of it? Ashley was always quick on her feet, especially when caught in the middle of a lie. She'd done it with hotel charges once, claimed a double booking, even as the receipt practically had the guy's initials and cologne on it. But this time? This time I wasn't asking. I saw the messages, I said, voice low. Even. Hunter's quite the poet. Not big on grammar, but he paints a vivid picture. Her mouth opened, shut, opened again. Like a goldfish who just realized the water was boiling. I can explain. No, you really can't, I cut in. Because I read everything. The texts. The photos. The ones you thought you deleted. Even that draft you started and never sent, where you wrote that you were scared I might find out, but also weirdly thrilled by the risk. Her lips trembled. Not from fear. Not yet. But from the sudden realization that the game was over. I pulled into a rundown motel on the edge of town. One of those places that rents by the hour and doesn't ask for last names. The kind of place that tells stories just by the smell in the carpet. What is this? She asked, voice climbing. Why are we here? I turned off the ignition. Looked her dead in the eyes. Because this is where I'm dropping you. Silence. What? You heard me, I said, stepping out of the car. You and Hunter like playing house so much, I figured I'd give you a new one. Surprise. She scrambled out after me. Logan, stop. This isn't funny. I'm not laughing. Where's my stuff? Back home, I said, shrugging. Where I'm headed now. Her face turned pale. You can't just leave me here. I smiled again. Ashley, you've been gone longer than you think. I'm just giving you a head start. I handed her the phone, screen still open on her last message. I wish I could wake up next to you instead. Well, I said, turning back to the car, wish granted. She stood in the middle of the motel parking lot like someone had yanked the scenery out from under her. Hair a mess from the nap, one shoe still half off, clutching her phone like it was a lifeline that forgot how to swim. I didn't say anything else. Didn't need to. Some things hit harder in silence, and she was standing right in it. You're not serious, she said, voice cracking, just barely above a whisper. You're not actually leaving me here. I looked around, made a slow 360 like I was soaking in the place. One busted vending machine, a laundry room with a flickering light, and a desk clerk inside who looked like he hadn't blinked since Nixon resigned. Looks real cozy to me, I said. It's even got a Bible in the drawer. You love that kind of irony. Her hands trembled. Logan, stop this. Be rational. We need to talk about it. No, I said, firm now. You had all the time in the world to talk. You had weeks of long drives, cold dinners, and fake smiles to say something. But instead, you whispered sweet nothings to a guy who sends mirror selfies with Jim Chalk on his apps. She started toward me. Please. This isn't you. Oh, you don't get to say who I am anymore, I replied, stepping back. You threw that privilege into a hotel bed with Hunter. The name landed like a slap. She looked away, blinking hard, trying to summon some dignity she hadn't earned. I made a mistake. Mistakes are typos, I said. You had a whole manuscript. You outlined the plot. You cast the lead actor. You even workshopped your fake alibis like a playwright. Logan. Her voice cracked open, and for a brief second, I saw it, the woman I married. The one who used to make me pancakes shaped like question marks on Sundays because love is full of surprises. The woman who danced in the kitchen to terrible 90s songs in her socks. The woman who once cried over a stray cat we couldn't keep. But that version? She was gone. Or maybe she never existed. Maybe I just built her in my head out of hope and grocery receipts. She stepped closer again. You can't leave me like this. I don't have my bag. My ID. Nothing. That's the thing about starting over, I said. It never feels fair at first. I turned to the car. She followed. You're abandoning me in a random city. Funny, I said, yanking open the door. That's exactly how I felt the moment I read. He still thinks we're just going through a rough patch. Per baby. She stopped cold. I got in, started the engine. The low hum of the car felt like a heartbeat starting over. She pounded the window. You're punishing me. You're doing this just to hurt me. No, I said, looking at her through the glass. I'm doing this because I finally realized I deserve better than someone who sees love as a phase. She opened her mouth again, probably to beg, or bargain, or spin another excuse wrapped in a fake apology, but I rolled the window up. I didn't need more lies today. I'd had enough calories of betrayal to last the rest of the year. As I pulled away, I saw her shrinking in the mirror. She didn't chase the car. She didn't scream. She just stood there in that cracked parking lot, alone, like a character left behind when the story decides to move on without them. I didn't look back again. The drive home was quiet. Not the kind of quiet that aches, but the kind that cleans. For the first time in a long while, my head wasn't a storm. It was just me, breathing, thinking, living. And I had plans. While she was curled up next to her gym-flavored secret, whispering about the thrill of deception, I'd been digging. Quietly. Methodically. Not because I was suspicious, but because I needed to know. They say revenge is best served cold, but they forget to mention how long it takes to preheat that freezer. I had receipts, bank transfers, hotel dates. I had screenshots. I even had a recorded phone call thanks to a friend who worked at her job's front desk. Turns out Hunter used the company line more than once. And now? Now I had leverage. Not for reconciliation. Not to win her back. That ship didn't just sail. It hit an iceberg and sank with the band still playing. No, this was for the finale. The house we lived in? My name was the only one on the mortgage. The car she drove? Technically leased under my LLC. Even the joint account? I moved half before she ever woke up in that motel. She wanted a fresh start? Perfect. I was going to make sure she had absolutely nothing to carry forward but the memory of what she lost. Ashley stood there for a long time after the taillights disappeared. It took her nearly 2 minutes to process the weight of what just happened. She wasn't the type to cry in public, but tears were welling now, not out of heartbreak, but panic. The kind that starts in the fingertips and climbs its way into your throat. No keys, no bag, no purse, no ride. Just a phone with 17% battery and one very awkward text thread that no longer looked like a love story. She scrolled through Hunter's messages again, as if rereading them might make her feel less disposable. They didn't. The last one was from him, an hour ago. Still thinking about last night. Your dangerous winking face. She hit call. Straight to voicemail. Of course. Ashley looked around the parking lot like the buildings might shift into something familiar. They didn't. She was somewhere in Eastville, wherever that was, standing outside a motel she wouldn't have stepped foot in a year ago unless she was volunteering to help someone escape it. She walked toward the lobby. The man behind the desk looked like he'd been carved out of a pack of cigarettes and 2 bad divorces. He barely looked up. You lost, sweetheart? He asked, voice raspy like it came with its own gravel. I need a room. Name. She hesitated. Ashley Benton. He typed something slowly. Card. She blinked. I don't have it on me right now. My husband. My ride. He dropped me off. And there was confusion. Can I pay later? His fingers froze mid-keystroke. He looked up, slow and deliberate. We don't do later here, princess. You want a room, you pay for a room. Ashley swallowed. Can I use Apple Pay? Only thing Apple I've got is a turnover in the vending machine. She stepped back. Is there a bus stop nearby? He smirked. Sure. About 4 miles east. But the next bus doesn't come till morning. Of course it didn't. She turned back toward the lot, gripping her phone tighter. 15% now. Hunter hadn't called back. She tried again. Voicemail. Then, right as she was about to open Uber, her screen lit up. Hunter is calling. She answered fast. Oh, thank God, Hunter. Logan left me. I need you to come get me. I don't even know where I owe. Whoa, slow down, he interrupted, laughing a little. You serious? He actually left you? Yes, she snapped. He just drove away. I have nothing. There was a pause. That's insane. But, what am I supposed to do? Ashley froze. What do you mean? Well, I can't just leave work, he said, like she'd asked him to perform emergency brain surgery. I've got meetings all afternoon. And honestly, this is kind of your mess. My mess. He chuckled again, but this time it had a different edge to it. Ashley, come on. You told me you were leaving him. I didn't know you meant he beat you to it. She stood there in the middle of the cracked concrete lot, realization dawning like slow poison. You're not coming. Silence. Then, I just think maybe you need to sort things out first. Get your life settled. Then maybe we see where we are. You said you loved me. And you said you were just staying with him until you figured things out. Seems like he figured it out for you. He hung up. Ashley stood still, eyes wide, phone screen fading to black like the final curtain on a failed act. Her knees felt weak. She didn't sit. There was nowhere clean to do that. But her body leaned, just slightly, against a rusted street pole as the sting settled in. Her backup plan had a backup plan. And she wasn't part of either. It took her 3 hours to finally get someone to send a ride. Her cousin, Melanie, who lived 2 cities over and had just enough goodwill left to Venmo her $40. Melanie didn't ask questions. Ashley didn't offer answers. By the time the ride pulled up, the sun was dipping low, and Ashley looked like a woman who had run out of stories. The driver didn't speak, just nodded. Probably assumed she was coming from a breakup. He was half right. On the way to Melanie's, she tried logging into their joint account. Empty. Every penny, gone. She called the bank. Account closed. All transfers authorized. Next, she tried the house security app. Locked out. Her email? Changed. The smart lock system? Disconnected from her phone. Logan had erased her in under 6 hours. She stared out the window, watching the world blur past in streaks of gold and regret. Her ears rang with silence, not from the road, but from the absence of options. She wasn't just abandoned. She was irrelevant. Back home, I was sipping a beer on the porch of a house that finally felt like mine again. Not ours. Not shared space. Mine. The ring was gone from my finger. Her things? Packed in boxes and labeled lost and found. I had even cleaned the fridge, something I'd put off for 6 months. Amazing what betrayal does for motivation. The best part? She still didn't know about the rest. The real revenge. And believe me, it was coming. By the time Ashley made it to her cousin's house, I was already 3 moves into the plan. I wasn't just going to leave her with regret. I was going to leave her with nothing familiar to crawl back to. Her phone? Still working, but the backup codes for everything? Gone. Emails, streaming accounts, even our shared grocery delivery subscription. All deactivated, changed, or rerouted. I'd already visited the landlord of the office building where she worked. You see, Ashley had used my name as a co-signer when she leased her private therapy space 2 years ago. Guess who pulled out of the contract that morning? Guess who took back ownership of the desk, chair, and all the office supplies he technically paid for? She'd walk in Monday and find her professional life reduced to drywall and echoes. That was phase 1. Erasure. Phase 2? Exposure. Not to the public. No revenge post. No billboard with Ashley the adulteress printed in Arial bold. No, I'm not tacky. But I sent one simple email. Subject, thought you should know. To Hunter's fiancé. Oh yeah, didn't I mention that little detail? He wasn't single. He was engaged. Had been for months. Her name was Bailey, and she was a real estate agent with a digital trail a mile wide. All I had to do was find one of her listings and pretend I was interested in a 3-bedroom colonial. She got the email at 7:43 p.m. with attachments, photos, messages. One particularly creative selfie Hunter sent from what I assumed was their bed. You know what made it really sting? I put it all in a zip folder labeled, Your Truth. Bailey didn't respond. But within the hour, Hunter's Instagram went dark. His profile pic vanished. All comments locked. Phase 2. Complete. Melanie only tolerated Ashley for 48 hours. After that, she gave her the kind of lecture only cousins can deliver, equal parts truth and slap to the soul. You cheated on a man who paid your tuition and massaged your dad's arthritic hands for 3 Thanksgivings in a row. I don't care how lost you were. Ashley packed up and left. With nowhere else to go, she called her mother, who, as it turns out, had already heard from my mother. Family dinners were going to be awkward for a while. She texted me finally. I want to talk. I replied with a single message. You already did. Just not to me. She didn't text again. I sold her car. Technically, she drove my second vehicle. Registered to me. Insured under my policy. And after a friendly visit to the DMV with the right paperwork and a solid poker face, it was legally back in my name. I dropped it off at auction with the seats still smelling like her perfume. Left the key in the ignition and walked away like it was a memory I'd finally outgrown. Then I got petty. Not childish, strategic. I posted an ad on Craigslist. Free. Designer shoes, slightly worn, lots of character. First come, first serve. Curb pickup only. And I left 5 of her red-soled trophies in a box by the curb. A crowd gathered. People came. Some fought over a single heel like it was Black Friday. I didn't even watch from the window. Some wounds you don't revisit. No one died. But the marriage did. I filed the papers the following week. No dramatic confrontation. No long-winded courtroom showdown. Just a clean, silent signature. Filed electronically. She got served while sipping coffee at a Panera, according to the process server. She cried, apparently. Not because she lost me, but because she lost the story she'd been telling herself. That I'd always be there. That I'd wait. That I'd be the guy who'd forgive anything as long as she cried long enough or tilted her head the right way. She never realized the quiet ones don't always stay quiet. Sometimes, they're just waiting for the perfect moment to stop clapping for the act. I saw her once more. Months later, she was walking out of a convenience store, carrying cheap wine and off-brand cereal, wearing a hoodie that looked like it used to belong to someone stronger. She saw me before I saw her. And for a moment, just a blink, her lips parted, like she might say something. But I was already getting in my car. She didn't follow, and I didn't look back. Because you see, this story, it wasn't about heartbreak. It was about clarity. You never really know someone until they think you'll never leave. Until they believe your loyalty is blind. But mine wasn't. Mine had a finish line. And she crossed it without me.